So I'm going to be building this dovetailed Kumiko box. So it's going to have dovetails to hold the box together, and then on the lid it's going to have it's going to have a Kumiko panel, and it's going to look really cool. The box is going to be made using old Burmese teak, and the entire box is going to be made using old Burmese teak. And so first we're going to start by cutting the panels to length. So the box is going to be 5 inches by 8 inches on the outside. I'm going to plane the edges before I cut them all to length. So I cut a piece what I need, and then I plane that to length so it all has the same thickness. And then square it up on the shooting board, and then I'm going to start cutting the pins and tails. So first I'm going to cut the tails. So I'm using the Jonathan Katz Moses 8 to 1 dovetail jig. This really makes it easier to get all the angles right, so you can't mess that up, but it still lets you learn how to guide the saw, how to use the saw properly to cut the joint. So there are going to be two tails. So a Japanese saw or a Western joinery saw is great for this. You can even use a back saw if you don't have a dedicated joinery saw. I'm using this Veritas carcass saw. It has cross cut teeth, but it still can be used for cutting these fine joints. It doesn't have the finest curve, but it's really nice to hold and work with. So once I'm done cutting one side of the tails, I'm going to flip the board to the other side and then cut the other side of the tails. I've learned cutting these dovetails through Jonathan Katz Moses' video. You should watch that out. It'll be linked in the description. So make sure you are cutting on the right side of the line. Jonathan does a really great job of explaining how to cut this joint. It's very detailed. You should definitely check out that video if you want to learn more about cutting this joint. So I'm going to use this coping saw or fret saw. You can use either. I'm going to use it to remove the waste between the tails. The fret saw is a really fine blade, so you can get quite close to the line and you can cut, but it moves a lot, so you have to be really careful and make sure that the show side of the line, which like the side that will be facing on the outside of the box, is facing you, so that you know that you're not cutting into the marking gauge line. So, and it's really important that you have marking gauge line so that you know where to cut and how deep you can cut till. So but I always find it best if you leave a little material so that you can clean it up with a chisel. Now I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch chisel because it fits into that space. I'm going to it's a Narex Richter chisel and it has really fine sides, so it won't bruise the sides of the tails. So you can see I'm just removing the waste carefully on the marking gauge line, and then using a wider chisel I'm going to clean up the waste to the marking gauge line that's on the sides of the tail. Make sure you have really sharp chisels because that would help you to get a cleaner cut and it won't like splinter or anything. So also do not cut past like the marking edge line, because then there would be a gap while fitting the joint together. So just take really shallow cuts and go really careful with this. So now I'm gonna cut the pins. So after cutting the tails, I'm gonna transfer the layout to the board that has the pins and cut the pins. So I'm gonna again use the dovetail jig to cut it according to the right angles. Make sure you're on the correct side of the line because that's where the slightest mistakes happen. And then I'll use the fret saw to remove the waste. You can also use a coping saw. So just be really careful and make sure the show side of the line is facing you so you don't cut too much. And then just clear out the waste to the marking gauge line with a chisel, using a wider chisel here because the wider chisel has more reference surface. So, and just be really careful while removing the waste and make sure you don't remove too much. And then just cut the pins for all the other boards so that the box goes together. For the glue up, I'm using regular wood glue. The benefit of this is that the wood glue will cover some of the tiny gaps that are there, and especially when you put it in the clamps, it removes any of the tiny gaps that are there by holding the joint together. And make sure you put the clamps on the tails because that would put the joint together, and if you put on the pins it's not going to do much, so clamp on the tails. And now to work on the lid. So this is I think 1 inch by 3 inch teak, and this is gonna make up the lid. So I just cut off that rough end to length, and then I was originally gonna rip it in half because this was 1 inch, so I would get 3/8 by 3/8 with like an eighth of an inch gone in sawing and planing, but it didn't really work out because I think I got distracted, and it's the saw started going like started tilting, and then on one side the after I resaw this, it became an eighth of an inch, and on the other it was like 3/4 of an inch, so it wasn't really working well. So I just had to restart and kept it to that 1 inch 1 inch by 3 inch. And now I'm gonna cut out like a space for the Kumiko panel that I wanted to put in. Originally I didn't no, think of putting a Kumiko panel, but then I thought I would get rediscover how much I enjoy doing Kumiko, and it was quite fun doing the Kumiko for this. So I'm going to glue this up. Make sure you glue it up really carefully because it would be tough to redo this part. So I removed the waste with a chisel because this would be too thick for a fret saw. And after the glue up is done, I'm going to start flattening this. I'm using a smoothing plane so I don't get any tear out, and I just quickly remove any inconsistencies in the thickness while the glue up happened, and after that I can start working on the Kumiko. I ripped the Kumiko strips with my Ryoba saw and then planed it with a block plane because it wasn't that big of piece and a block plane was fun to use. So be careful while ripping these, and then you can make the Kumiko, which is quite a fun process. I'm flattening the backside of the lid because there'll be another piece attached to it that would be like the fit locking mechanism kind of. It just drops into the box, so I'm flattening that with my low angle jack plane. And now I'm making the Kumiko frame, so I'm using my Ryoba saw because it's quite fine and delicate. So I'm just making like these pieces that would make up the frame, and then I work on the Kumiko, make the small pieces, pound them in, secure them with wood glue, and then just use like a really sharp chisel so that you don't get tear out, and just enjoy the journey because it's a really fun project. I put in a little CA glue where there were any small gaps in the Kumiko, just to make everything filled up and smooth. And then I'm gonna start sanding the box. I start from 80 grit, and I put pencil lines to see where I've sanded and if I've removed the material evenly or not. So I sand from 80 grit and then go up to 150 to 180 on the box here. So make sure that you remove any of the glue that would be on the pins and tails, and make sure you sand evenly everywhere. And so as you can see, I've put in the plywood lid already. So I use plywood because it won't expand and contract like solid wood would, and because it's the bottom of the lid, it's important that it doesn't expand and contract. And using 150 grit sandpaper, I'm gonna chamfer all the edges so that it's smooth in the hands. Chamfer and then slightly just round over the edges, just run over the sandpaper on the edges, and then I'm going to start sanding the lid. Sanding this is important so that the Kumiko is flat and it's smooth to feel also. Make sure you're wearing PPE while sanding and doing any of the woodworking tasks that would create a lot of sawdust. So I'm wearing hearing protection, safety goggles, and a respirator. As you can see, so far it looks really great. The figure teak really looks nice, and the Kumiko looks great on the lid. So my finishing method is going to be the same as what I did for the Sashimono box. I applied a coat of double boiled linseed oil. I actually applied two, so let this one, I applied it, rubbed it in, let it dry for 30 minutes and applied another coat. So this basically pops the grain or and makes it look really nice. And since I'm going to use water-based polyurethane because it's kind of less toxic than oil-based polyurethane, water-based polyurethane doesn't really pop the grain and it kind of looks like a plastic coating. So this oil makes it look really nice. I'm going to let it polymerize for 3 days so that like once it's polymerized, it will dry up. So you let it dry for 3 to 7 days. At least that's what worked for me. That was the drying time that worked for me. And you should try this out for yourself. See how long your oil would take to dry, and then after that's done, I'm going to apply the polyurethane. So I'm applying the water-based polyurethane mainly for durability and protection because it's a box is going to be picked up and handled by a lot of people. If you want, you can just apply the oil and straight paste wax, but I wanted to apply the polyurethane for durability and protection. So I'm gonna sand it in between coats, sand with 220 and 320 grit paper, and then I've done 3 coats of water-based polyurethane, and then I'm gonna apply paste wax to all the edges so that it's smooth and has a satin finish.